Imagine handing someone a scalpel, giving them permission to literally slice your torso open, and then waking up in sheer agonizing pain.
Right, right. Like you're heavily medicated and completely vulnerable.
Yes. And then you look up, and your boyfriend, a grown adult man, looks you directly in the eyes and demands a Venmo transfer just to hand you a glass of water.
Oh my God, it makes me physically ill.
Think about the audacity required to act like a toll booth operator for basic human empathy. That is the level of emotional terrorism we are dealing with today, and I am physically, spiritually, and financially screaming into the void.
It is genuinely staggering. Like, we are witnessing a masterclass in weaponized incompetence. It's a grift that actually defies the laws of physics. My jaw detached from my skull 48 hours ago, and I have yet to recover it.
Babes, welcome back. We love you, we see you, and babes, we are so glad to have you here.
The Snark Squad is in full effect today. Pull up a chair, lock your doors, hide your credit cards from useless men, and let's get into it.
Babes, the cosmopolitans are on deck. And honestly, we keep staring at the ninja slush machine. Because, babes, a frozen Cosmo sounds absolutely dangerous.
It is a lethal weapon. Let's just speak our truth right now. We stood in that store, looking at the box, having a full existential debate about whether two adult professionals needed a commercial-grade slush machine in their kitchen.
We paced the aisle for, what, like 20 minutes?
At least 20 minutes. We debated the counter space, but we pulled the trigger, and it is hands down the greatest investment we have ever made.
It changes the entire molecular structure of the evening. I mean, I firmly believe we need to start petitioning the government to make frozen variations legally mandated for all cocktails.
I would sign that petition immediately.
Right. Because why are we settling for liquid on the rocks? A rocks glass is just a countdown timer to a watered-down disappointment. But a frozen drink, it's suspended animation, it's alcoholic snow. It is the peak of culinary science.
Exactly. It's thermal perfection. But it also begs the question, what do we freeze next? We've obviously conquered the margarita. We totally dominated the frosé.
Oh, the frosé was incredible.
It was. And I am currently conceptualizing a frozen espresso martini, though I'm slightly terrified it might induce a heart arrhythmia. But there is a specific, undeniable magic to a frozen cosmopolitan.
There really is. You pour that perfectly pink, icy concoction into a glass, and your posture instantly improves. You are holding it, and suddenly you aren't just sitting in an apartment. You are the main character.
Totally giving main character energy.
You are giving Carrie Bradshaw, but transposed into the chaotic energy of Valley Village. You feel entirely untouchable until the brain freeze hits.
And the brain freeze is just the universe's way of reminding you that you are alive. But before we completely spiral into our own mixology delusions, we need to take a massive, fabulous moment to acknowledge the calendar. Happy Pride Month, babes.
Yes. Happy Pride Month, babes. We want to take a massive moment to celebrate Pride, to shout out the entire Snark Squad, and to hype up all the queens, kings, gals, gays, guys, and theys who make this community what it is.
Absolutely.
You bring the wit, you bring the fashion, you bring the absolute razor-sharp reads, and we love you endlessly.
I mean, reality TV culture, pop culture, snark culture, none of it exists without the queer community building the foundation and setting the bar.
Literally none of it.
We see you living your messy, authentic, fabulous lives out there, and we are raising our dangerously frozen cosmopolitans to you.
Cheers to that, always and forever. Okay, but babes, before recording, we grabbed beef and chicken sliders from the little dive bar downstairs. And babes, absolutely incredible.
I need to understand the science behind what just happened in my mouth. Why is dive bar food so inherently elite?
Makes no sense.
Right. You walk into a place that hasn't seen natural sunlight since, 2004. The floor is inexplicably sticky, the air smells like regret and stale IPA, and yet the kitchen produces a slider that could win a James Beard Award. Make the culinary math make sense.
It's the seasoned grill. That flat-top griddle has trapped the flavor profiles of 10,000 midnight mistakes. They don't scrub it down with harsh chemicals. They just let the history marinate into the metal.
Oh my God, that's so gross, but so true.
That's the secret ingredient. But it's also the psychology of the slider itself. A regular burger is a commitment. It's a full meal.
Right, you have to mentally prepare for a whole burger.
Exactly. But a slider is miniature. It tricks your brain into thinking, oh, this is just a tiny little protein garnish, which completely bypasses your fullness receptors, so you end up eating 12 of them.
The slider psychology is insidious. It literally weaponizes cuteness against your metabolism. But honestly, it is the pinnacle of comfort food. And I think we all have that one very specific comfort food order that we retreat to when life is falling apart.
Oh, 100%.
For me, it's a basket of dive bar fries, aggressively oversalted, drowned in a liquid cheese that is one molecule away from being plastic. What is your absolute rock bottom, need it now comfort order?
Okay, loaded nachos at 10 a.m. delivered in a tragic aluminum container.
Ooh, yes, the aluminum container is key.
The kind where the chips at the bottom have completely structurally failed and become a soggy, delicious paste of beans and molten cheddar. And there are jalapenos that I know for a fact will ruin my life the next morning.
But you eat them anyway.
I eat it in absolute goblin mode on the couch. And let me tell you, I needed those sliders today. My cortisol levels are spiking because, babes, we're officially 1 month away from moving into our new apartments. Same building, different apartments.
Don't remind me.
And, babes, the analytical bestie is spiraling because zero packing has happened. At all. Meanwhile, the emotional bestie has already started.
Okay, I absolutely reject the narrative that I'm spiraling. I am simply practicing strategic avoidance.
You are living in denial.
Packing a month early is unhinged behavior. You are living among cardboard boxes like you are building a fort in a post-apocalyptic wasteland. I am conceptualizing. I am mapping out the spatial geometry of the move in my mind.
You are staring blankly at your closet, pretending it doesn't exist. I have an itinerary. I have a color-coded spreadsheet. I have Sharpies in 3 different thicknesses. Moving is not a passive event.
It's really not that deep, though.
It is a traumatic upheaval of your entire material existence.
Yeah.
Do you know what I found yesterday? I was cleaning out my desk drawer, and I found a movie ticket stub from 2014, and I literally sat on the hardwood floor and cried for 10 minutes about the relentless passage of time.
See, this is exactly why I don't pack early. I refuse to be held emotionally hostage by a piece of thermal paper from a screening of Gone Girl.
There's an emotional moment.
I operate on the pressure cooker method. I wait until 2 a.m. the night before the movers arrive, the adrenaline kicks in, and I ruthlessly hurl everything I own into heavy-duty black contractor bags. No nostalgia, no tears, just survival instinct and pure chaos.
You are a sociopath. It's terrifying. But it really does perfectly encapsulate how we are complete opposites in almost every facet of our lives.
Yeah.
Yet we somehow makes this friendship function flawlessly. It defies logic.
It really does. Because if we look at the data, we shouldn't work. You are the organized, deeply sentimental planner who views a Google Calendar as a sacred text.
Guilty.
And I am the physical embodiment of a 404 error page, just winging my entire existence and throwing my memories into a dumpster.
Literally. When someone texts me, I reply in 0.2 seconds, like my thumbs are wired to the mainframe. If someone texts you, you will read it, nod in agreement to the empty room, formulate a brilliant reply in your head, and then completely forget to type it out.
I do that all the time.
And then you reappear in the group chat 3 days later like you weren't just reported to the Missing Persons Bureau.
I am a digital ghost. I mean,
Right.
You will be actively laying out our schedule for the week, and I am just floating through the ether, completely untethered from the concept of linear time.
It's exhausting, but it works.
But honestly, I think that's why we survive. If I had a clone, we would spontaneously combust from the friction of trying to out-organize each other. If you had a clone, you would both currently be living in a pile of unmarked trash bags eating cold pizza. We balance the scales.
We really provide equilibrium to each other's madness.
Yeah.
But honestly, the sheer unadulterated terror I feel about packing my apartment pales in comparison to the absolute catastrophic life decisions we witnessed on our screens this week.
Okay, babes, enough about our mess. Let's talk about theirs.
Yes. Let us dive into the murky waters of the valley. Because the premier event of this week was Brittany's mommy makeover.
We have to start right there, because this was actually a deeply emotional opening. Brittany goes to this high-end Beverly Hills plastic surgeon for her mommy makeover.
And we see that moment where she is finally standing in front of the mirror, looking at her flat stomach post-surgery, and she has actual genuine tears of joy in her eyes.
I have to admit, my heart completely melted for her.
Same. You could physically see the weight of years of body image insecurity just lifting off her shoulders. She looks so happy and so relieved.
It was a remarkably vulnerable moment for reality television. As a viewer, you are watching her and you just desperately want this to be a peaceful, triumphant, healing era for her.
Exactly. You want her to go home, sink into a mountain of plush pillows, and be treated like absolute royalty while her body recovers from what is, let's be clear, a major, highly invasive surgical procedure.
Right, but the universe, in its infinite cruelty, said, "No, Brittany, you do not get peace. You get Brandon Hanson."
Ugh, Brandon Hanson.
Yeah.
A man who functions essentially as a walking check engine light that she refuses to take to the mechanic. We need to meticulously break down the sheer staggering incompetence on display here.
Because the red flags aren't just waving, they are being shot out of a t-shirt cannon directly into our faces.
Let's start with a baseline failure. He fails to pick up her post-op pain medication. Bessie, let's contextualize this for the Snark squad. She just had major surgery. Her abdominal muscles have been sutured. She is in agonizing, searing pain.
And her boyfriend just, misses the pharmacy window? How does a functioning adult with a smartphone map and a clock miss the pharmacy window for narcotic painkillers?
This is what I'm talking about with weaponized incompetence. It's not like he was performing emergency neurosurgery and lost track of time. He had one singular critical mission.
Go to the glowing neon sign, say her name, take the little plastic bottle, and bring it back to the woman who is currently writhing in pain.
To fail at that isn't just an oopsie. It is a profound lack of basic human care. Think about the analogy of a firefighter. Imagine your house is on fire, you are trapped on the second floor, and the firefighter finally climbs the ladder, looks at you and says, "Hey, before I carry you down, could you Venmo me $20 for my parking meter?"
Oh my God, that is exactly what Brandon did, because it actually gets worse. He lives in Paso Robles, right?
Right, which is about a 200-mile drive from Los Angeles.
A bit of a commute, but certainly not crossing the Oregon Trail. It's a standard California road trip.
Exactly. So he tells Brittany he wants to take time off work to drive down and take care of her. On paper, that sounds supportive. But then he looks at this woman who is recovering from having her torso reconstructed and asks her to give him money to compensate him for his missed shifts at work.
Wait, I need to pause right here. I need to dissect the psychological framework of a man who formulates that request.
Yeah.
He is essentially functioning as an independent contractor, billing his romantic partner for his presence.
It's disgusting.
What is the hourly rate for fluffing a pillow, Brandon? Is he submitting an itemized invoice on QuickBooks? Line item, handed Brittany a ginger ale. Cost, $45. It is deeply, fundamentally gross.
It's sickening. And you want to know the absolute worst part, the part that made me want to throw my television into the street?
Don't even say it.
She actually paid him. She transferred the funds.
Okay, wait, let's look at this from another angle because I have a serious bone to pick with Brittany here. Yes, Brandon is a grifter, but Brittany is actively participating in this delusion.
I mean, you're not wrong.
She admits on camera that she funded this trip. And what does he do with the money she gave him? He goes and buys her tragic, gas station-looking flowers. He literally used her own money to buy her a get-well-soon gift.
It's romantic money laundering. She bought her own bouquet, and he just acted as the delivery driver. And then, after securing the bag and handing her the sad daisies, he cuts his trip 2 days short because he suddenly has stuff to do.
Stuff to do?
That's what I'm saying. You are theoretically being paid to be there. Are you rushing back to Paso Robles to deposit your emotional support paycheck?
The Reddit Snark squad was rightfully completely losing their minds over this. There was one comment that perfectly captured the horror. Someone wrote, "Brittany admitting she pays Brandon is Satan's work. You couldn't waterboard this information out of me."
I read that exact thread, and I completely agree. If I ever found myself in a moment of sheer desperation where I paid a man to act like my boyfriend, and he bungled it this badly, I would take that secret to the grave.
Literally to the grave.
The CIA could hook me up to a polygraph, they could deprive me of sleep for a month, and I would confess to the Kennedy assassination before I admitted that I subsidized a man's road trip just so he could abandon me without my Vicodin. Why on earth is she volunteering this information on national television?
Well, right, let's dig into the psychology of that why, because I think this is a crucial point of friction. Why does Brittany constantly fund and protect disappointing men? Look at her history.
Oh, we all know the history.
Is she just locked in a vicious cycle of repetition compulsion? With Jax Taylor, her entire identity was built around being the long-suffering martyr who made excuses for his atrocious behavior.
She was totally his shield.
She covered his tracks, she defended him to the group. Now, with Brandon, she has cut out the middleman and is literally just financially compensating a man to play the role of the burden.
I hear what you're saying about repetition compulsion, but I don't think she's doing it to play the martyr.
Yeah.
I think she genuinely, desperately wants a fairy tale romance.
You think it's that innocent?
I do. I think she has such low self-esteem that she believes if she just pays for the infrastructure of a relationship, the travel, the dates, the rent, the romance will eventually blossom. It's the sunk cost fallacy applied to dating. If I invest enough capital, he has to become a good boyfriend eventually.
I completely disagree. I think it's darker than that. I think she has a deep-seated savior complex.
Wait, really? Explain that.
If she dates a man who is fully functional, independent, and capable, she loses her leverage. By dating broken, useless men, she guarantees that they need her. She is buying job security in her own relationship.
Oh, wow.
By paying Brandon's way, she holds the power even while playing the victim.
So you think it's a subconscious power play? That is a fascinating, if bleak, read on the situation. But you know what a Reddit user pointed out that absolutely knocked the wind out of me? They said, well, look on the bright side. At least with Brandon, Brittany doesn't have to worry about hiding her pain medication from Jax anymore.
The sharp inhale I just took. That is the darkest, most accurate silver lining in the history of reality television, because it is completely true.
It is.
Brandon is incompetent and greedy, but Jax would have actively consumed her post-operative prescriptions. So, is this growth? Is moving from an actively destructive partner to a passively useless grifter considered a win in the valley?
If that is the metric for growth, the bar is entirely subterranean. Thank God Kristen Dowd arrived exactly when she did.
A mother doubt.
Kristen is like a highly tuned, chaotic bloodhound. She has an internal radar for dysfunction. She walks into the house, immediately clocks the tragic flower delivery, senses the tension of the argument, and then delivers that masterpiece of a confessional.
Red flags waving everywhere. Brittany, let him go. Bye.
She sang it like a nursery rhyme.
Kristen didn't even need to sit down for a deep philosophical conversation. She just took one look at the dynamic, diagnosed the terminal illness of the relationship, and sang a jingle about it.
It was perfection. But honestly, connecting Brittany's absolutely terrible taste in men to Zack's absolutely terrible taste in roommates, we need to talk about the tragedy unfolding in West Hollywood.
Oh my God, yes.
Let us pivot to the architectural manifestation of millennial despair, which is Zack's empty apartment.
Babes, the sheer devastation of this scene. Zack's roommate moves out. And when we say he moved out, we do not mean he packed his clothes and left. We mean he stripped that apartment down to the drywall like a swarm of locusts.
He took everything.
He took the television, which, by the way, was a gift from Kristen and Luke to the apartment, not to the roommate. He took the sofa, the chairs, the rugs. He took the wine opener.
I need to dwell on the wine opener for a second. Because taking the TV is greedy, taking the couch is inconvenient, but taking the wine opener, that is an act of targeted psychological warfare.
It's so petty. That is a petty, petty man who wants to ensure that when Zack is standing in the middle of his echoing, barren living room, holding a bottle of cheap Pinot Grigio in a desperate attempt to self-soothe, he cannot even open it. He wanted Zack to suffer.
It is so vindictive, but the absolute worst offense, the crime that will go down in the reality TV history books, the roommate took the Monster Energy fridge.
Rest in eternal peace to an absolute legend. That neon green, visually offensive, aggressively branded mini fridge was practically a cast member. It had more screen presence and a better character arc than Brandon Hanson.
Literally. And Zack is visibly, deeply mourning the loss of this appliance.
He hosts a housewarming party in a room that looks like a holding cell.
It is just Zack, a single plastic folding table, 4 metal folding chairs, and he is serving cold Domino's pizza. It was giving major early-season Vanderpump Rules energy.
Yes. When you walked into an apartment and someone was sleeping on a mattress on the floor with a sheet pinned over the window,
it was a beautiful homage to their broke origins. And when Lacey walks in, she looks around the echoing chamber, tries to summon every ounce of polite societal conditioning she possesses, and says, "I love what you've done with the place. It gives millennial."
I screamed. She completely eviscerated him while maintaining a perfect smile.
It was such a polite assassination. But underneath the comedy of the folding chairs and the missing fridge, there is a very real, very heavy relationship crisis brewing. Because Zack and Benji are using this vacant apartment to test out living together. A domestic trial run.
Right. It's supposed to be this intimate step forward. They are in this empty space, a blank canvas for their future. And Benji decides this is the perfect moment to drop an absolute anvil on the relationship.
He sits Zack down and explicitly states that having children is a 100% non-negotiable requirement for his life.
And if you look closely, you can actually see Zack's soul detach from his physical body and float out the window. Zack is a man who is currently struggling to maintain ownership of a wine key.
Exactly. He cannot figure out how to furnish a living room. The concept of keeping a human infant alive is so far beyond his current bandwidth that the sheer mention of it short-circuited his brain.
Which brings me to a theory I want to test on you. Do you think Zack is genuinely, sincerely heartbroken over a branded mini fridge? Or do you think he is experiencing profound existential dread about this baby ultimatum, terrified of adult commitment and using the stolen fridge as a psychological displacement mechanism?
Oh, I don't think it's displacement at all. I know we love to psychoanalyze, but hear me out. I think he genuinely just misses his stuff.
You really think it's just about the stuff?
Yes. Think about how disorienting it is to come home to a space that you consider your sanctuary, and half of your physical world has vanished. The fridge was a staple of his daily routine. It's violating. You don't have to be projecting childhood trauma to just be deeply upset that your roommate robbed you blind.
I hear you, but I completely disagree. The fridge is a totem. It is a symbol of his chaotic, Peter Pan, perpetual bachelor lifestyle.
Okay, that's deep.
The roommate stripping the apartment bare is a physical manifestation of his youth being stripped away. He is standing in an empty room, and Benji is telling him it is time to build a family, to procreate, to become a patriarch.
Wow.
The monster fridge is gone, and so is his innocence. He is crying over a neon appliance, but he's actually weeping over the impending doom of adulthood.
Okay, the monster fridge is gone, and so is his innocence. That is poetry. You might be right about the symbolism, but amid all this Peter Pan syndrome, Zack does have one moment of profound, undeniable maturity at this party.
He really does.
He gathers the group, holding a red Solo cup, naturally, and gives this incredibly touching speech. He honors Kristen and Brittany, revealing that when he was dead, broke, and drowning, they quietly paid his rent to keep a roof over his head. And then, in front of everyone, he pulls out his phone and Venmos Kristen $2,000 to pay her back.
It was a genuinely beautiful moment. We spend so much time analyzing Zack's dramatics, but that action requires immense character. To publicly admit your financial rock bottom, to credit the women who saved you, and to actively make them whole, that is the hallmark of a healthy, functioning friendship. It's accountability in action.
And think about the contrast here. We just spent 20 minutes dissecting Brittany paying her grifter boyfriend for basic human decency. Here we have Zack paying back his chosen family who supported him without ever asking for a dime.
It's day and night.
It perfectly illustrates the duality of financial transactions in this friend group. One is rooted in extortion, the other is rooted in immense gratitude.
Exactly. And speaking of massive financial transactions and people literally buying their way out of terrible situations, we have to talk about the divorce settlement.
Oh my God. Michelle and Jesse are officially at the finish line, and the toll it is taking is staggering. They finally sit down to sign the divorce paperwork. It is cold, it is clinical, it is done.
It was so heavy.
But then Michelle drops a bombshell in her confessional that made me pause the television. She reveals that in order to settle their mutual loans and finalize the split, she personally took on $150,000 in debt. Bestie, $150,000.
It is a breathtaking sum of money. Let's explain the mechanism of what is happening here, because this isn't just about dividing assets. This is the ultimate example of the price of emotional freedom.
I love that phrase.
In economics, the sunk cost fallacy dictates that you continue a bad endeavor because of the resources you've already invested. Michelle is employing the exact opposite strategy. She is looking at a six-figure financial creator and deciding that the crippling debt is actually cheaper than spending one more day married to Jesse.
That is the perfect way to phrase it. The desperation, the suffocating reality of that marriage must have been so profound that $150,000 felt like a bargain for her sanity.
You can see it in her eyes at the table.
Yes. Jesse makes this manipulative woe is me comment about how he's never seen her cry so much. He wants to paint this picture that she is shattered by losing him. And Michelle just stares at him with absolute ice water in her veins and delivers the line of the season. I cry all the time by myself.
That line is devastating. It belongs in a prestige HBO drama. I cry all the time by myself. In 7 words, she completely dismantles his narrative.
It was a kill shot.
She exposes how utterly oblivious he was to her pain, and how profoundly isolated she felt while sleeping in the same bed as him. She wasn't crying because the marriage was ending. She was crying because the marriage existed.
It gave me chills. But Jesse, naturally, is utterly incapable of looking in the mirror. His ego cannot process the rejection, so he has to redirect the hostility. And his target of choice, Brittany.
Jesse's crusade against Brittany is a fascinating study in deflection. We see him out at the bar with Schwartz and Danny, which, by the way, is an absolutely terrifying assembly of men.
If you see those three sitting in a booth together, you close out your tab and leave the zip code.
immediately. And Jesse is just raging. He is fuming that Brittany constantly skirts by accountability, and he accuses her of being the mastermind of a mean girl group that actively bullied his new girlfriend, Lacey.
He's projecting his rage at Michelle onto her closest friend. But Michelle, acting as the ultimate oracle, issues a dire warning to the audience about Lacey. She points out that Lacey has serious independent wealth.
Which changes everything.
And Michelle states, point blank, that because Lacey is financially loaded, Jesse will sink his claws in and never ever let her go. Even though Lacey is on camera saying she has zero desire to ever get married again, Michelle is basically sending a flare up into the sky saying, Lacey, you are not a girlfriend to him. You are an angel investor. Run.
Michelle is trying to pass the baton of survival, but I want to push back on the Jesse and Brittany dynamic. We know Jesse is deflecting his divorce anger. That is obvious.
Right.
But wait, let's look at this from another angle. Is Jesse actually entirely correct about Brittany?
You think he's right?
Hear me out. Think about the mechanism of the halo effect. Brittany leans so heavily into the sweet, innocent Kentucky muffin persona. Whenever she is caught in the middle of toxic gossip or bad behavior, she just widens her eyes, drops a heavy yawl, and the entire group seemingly gets amnesia about her involvement.
Oh, that's true.
Does she use her sweetness as Teflon to avoid the consequences of her own messiness?
You know, I hate to admit it because Jesse is a terrible messenger, but the message itself is accurate. She absolutely utilizes weaponized sweetness.
Exactly.
She was right in the thick of the Lala drama in San Diego. She was deeply involved in the Janet freezing out situation. But because she doesn't scream and point fingers like Kristen, she slides perfectly under the radar. Jesse is a master manipulator, so his radar for manipulation in others is highly attuned. He recognizes her game because he plays the same sport.
A grifter knows a grifter. He sees exactly how she avoids the crossfire. But while Jesse is trying to unmask Brittany as the secret villain of the valley, the actual literal villain of the season is hiding in the shadows, pouring brown liquor into a silver can.
Which brings us to the most chilling storyline we've ever covered.
The White Claw mystery.
Babes, buckle up. Because this narrative arc transitions from reality TV gossip into a full-blown psychological thriller. It starts so innocently. Jasmine is over at Brittany's house and she goes to use the restroom. But it's not just the guest powder room. She is using the bathroom located inside Brittany's sprawling home gym.
Wait, can we briefly acknowledge the aggressive real estate flex happening here? Brittany has a fully equipped private gymnasium in her home, complete with its own ensuite bathroom.
It's wild.
We just spent 10 minutes agonizing over the counter footprint of a slush machine, and she's casually living inside an Equinox. The wealth disparity is staggering.
It's a different tax bracket entirely. So Jasmine is in the Equinox bathroom and she looks at the sink. And there, sitting in plain sight, is an empty, slightly crumpled can of Black Cherry White Claw. It is the smoking gun.
And this is where Brittany's Teflon persona drops and her inner detective emerges. She immediately starts running the forensic calculations. Who had access to the gym?
The suspect list was short.
The only people from the pool party who ventured into that wing of the house were Zack, Naya, and Danny. They quickly eliminate Zack because he is strictly a wine aficionado. Naya is practically canonized as a living saint who would never sneak a malt beverage, which leaves one solitary suspect, Daniel Bucco.
This is the moment where the Bravo production and editing team solidified their Emmys. They don't just let the cast speculate. They don't leave it as a he said, she said. They roll the tapes. They present the Zapruder film of reality television.
It was cinema.
We cut to the raw footage from the pool party. We watch Danny walk into the kitchen. We see him look around shiftily, ensuring the coast is clear, before grabbing a White Claw from the fridge and sneaking upstairs.
Yeah.
But the visual isn't what makes it art. It's the audio.
The lavalier microphone captures a symphony of deception. We hear the distinct metallic sound of the aluminum tab cracking open.
The hiss.
Yes. We hear the glug, glug, glug of him frantically chugging the alcohol in the silence of the upstairs hallway. And the grand finale, the resonant, unapologetic burp echoing directly into the mic.
I gagged.
And the editor masterfully overlays this audio while showing footage of Danny downstairs looking his wife in the eye and solemnly swearing he hasn't had a single drop to drink.
It is damning. It is irrefutable proof of a deeply ingrained pattern of lying. But the absolute tragedy of this entire sequence is Nia's reaction. Nia sits down with Michelle, and instead of confronting the reality of her husband's sneaking alcohol like a teenager, she attempts to rationalize it.
It broke my heart.
She tries to argue that there is a double standard in the group. She says Jesse and Zack get sloppy drunk and nobody judges them. And then she utters a line that completely shattered me. She says, 90% of the time we drink, it's fun.
That sentence is a glaring red alarm bell. Let's explain the concept of cognitive dissonance here.
Please do.
Nia holds two conflicting beliefs. My husband is a good, reliable father, and my husband secretly drinks and becomes awful 10% of the time. To resolve the psychological stress of that contradiction, she has to minimize the bad 10% and amplify the fun 90%.
That makes so much sense.
But mathematically, if your partner turns into a toxic verbal terror 1 out of every 10 times he touches a beverage, you are living in a minefield.
Exactly. You're playing emotional Russian roulette every time a bottle is uncorked. And Michelle, who has walked this exact path, tries to throw her a lifeline. Michelle looks at Nia with such profound sadness and says, I used to make the exact same excuses for Jessie.
She was warning her.
She is trying to warn her that 10% eventually swallows the 90%. But Nia is clinging to the sinking ship. Why? Why did she defend him so fiercely?
Because it is a survival mechanism. Nia has 4 children under the age of 4. Let that sink in. She is managing a chaotic, demanding household essentially on her own willpower. If she stops defending him, if she admits out loud that her husband has a severe, secretive problem with alcohol and deception, the entire foundation of her family structure collapses.
Oh, that's so heavy.
The denial is the only thing keeping the roof over her head. But the viewers are not bound by that denial. The Snark squad on Reddit was absolutely rabid.
The threads were exploding. People are labeling Danny as spooky and dark. And honestly, we have to give credit where credit is due. Katie Maloney diagnosed him years ago. She said he gave off spooky energy, and we didn't listen.
We should always listen to Katie Maloney.
Always. But what is truly inciting the rage of the internet isn't just the drinking, it's the parenting dynamic. There's a massive discussion about how Danny actively, resentfully parents his own children. He treats fatherhood like an unpaid internship.
He really does. He only engages with the kids when Nia issues a direct command, and he does it with a sigh and an eye roll.
And yet, this is the part that induces genuine fury. He is relentlessly pressuring this exhausted, overwhelmed woman to have a 5th child. Why?
Yeah.
Because they have 3 girls and 1 boy, and his fragile, archaic masculinity dictates that he needs more sons to balance the roster.
It is grotesque.
He doesn't want to change the diapers. He doesn't want to do the night feeds. He just wants the aesthetic of a patriarchal dynasty. It is so hard to watch him demand more offspring while refusing to parent the ones currently screaming in his living room.
It is vile. It's actually infuriating to watch him treat her body like a factory for his ego. And he proves, yet again, how fundamentally untrustworthy he is at Zack's housewarming party.
The water can.
Yes. Zack, acting as a genuinely good friend, pulls Danny aside into the corner to gently confront him about the drinking rumors. And what does Danny do? While Zack is speaking, we literally watch Danny pour brown whiskey into a can.
He's making a mixed drink mid-confrontation.
He is darting his eyes around the room, paranoid, sweating, looking like a cornered animal. And then he looks Zack directly in the eyes without blinking and says, I am drinking water.
The sociopathic ease with which that lie left his mouth is what solidifies the spooky label. But the true manipulation comes when Danny tries to explain why he sneaks the alcohol. He tells the group that he hides his drinking because Jax Taylor targeted him at a pool party last summer and gave him PTSD.
I nearly threw my remote off the wall. PTSD. From Jax Taylor gossiping about you. Are we entirely serious right now?
It's so offensive to people with actual trauma.
This is a textbook chilling application of DARVO. For the listeners, DARVO stands for Deny, Attack, and Reverse Victim and Offender. Danny is weaponizing the modern language of therapy and trauma to completely evade accountability.
That is exactly what he's doing.
By claiming he has PTSD, he attempts to magically transform himself from the perpetrator, a man who lies to his wife and friends about his substance abuse, into the victim. He's essentially saying, I am not an addict hiding my behavior. I am a traumatized victim of bullying who is just trying to create a safe boundary to enjoy a beverage.
It is a masterclass in emotional manipulation. He hijacks the vocabulary of healing to build a fortress around his toxic behavior. It is genuinely dark to witness him look at his friends and dare them to question his trauma. He is drowning in his own lies, and he is willing to pull everyone down with him.
And while Danny is spiraling in his corner of deception, clutching his whiskey water, the rest of the party is descending into its own brand of chaos.
Let's talk about the confrontations. Because a party with metal folding chairs and lukewarm dominoes isn't truly complete until someone is crying by the makeshift bar.
Right, Jasmine and Zack.
Yes. Jasmine corners Zack, and she is incredibly emotional. She is in tears because she feels that Zack completely abandoned her during the massive Lala fallout in San Diego. She directly accuses Zack of prioritizing his fear of Kristen and his loyalty to Danny over her friendship.
And honestly, I hate to say it, but Jasmine is entirely correct. Zack is a loyal friend, but he is absolutely petrified of Kristen Doubt.
Terrified.
He views Kristen as the apex predator of this social ecosystem. He will never cross Mother Doubt, even if it means throwing a newer friend like Jasmine directly to the wolves to save his own skin.
It's the politics of survival in the valley. But contrast Zack's cowardice with Jason's absolute steadfastness. Jasmine goes to Jason to thank him for being the only one who had her back. And Jason, sweet, immobilized Jason, holds her hand and simply says, "It isn't hard to support you."
That is the gold standard of friendship.
It really is.
It's not transactional. He doesn't weigh the political cost of defending her against the wrath of the group. He just does it because it's right. Jason is the moral center of this cast, which is tragic because he is currently entirely out of commission.
Poor Jason. First, he hosts a massive crab boil, which, by the way, is a hilariously chaotic meal to consume mere hours before going under the knife.
Such a weird choice.
Then he has major reconstructive knee surgery, and now he is trapped on the couch in a massive hip-to-ankle cast for 4 to 6 weeks, which means the entire burden of their life has fallen onto Janet.
It is a fascinating role reversal for their marriage. Historically, Janet is the one stationed on the sofa, aggressively producing the drama and dispatching orders, while Jason runs around managing the actual logistics of their life.
And now they've swapped.
Now, Jason is the couch-bound gossip relay station, and Janet is forced to run a household, manage a toddler, and care for an incapacitated husband all by herself. She looked visibly, deeply exhausted.
She looked like she'd aged 5 years and 4 days. But honestly, even exhausted Janet looked more vibrant than Tom Schwartz's new girlfriend did at this party.
Oh, the tragedy of Kiana. Tom Schwartz officially introduces Kiana as his girlfriend, a title that usually comes with a heavy dose of therapy required shortly after, and he brings her and her friend to Zack's barren apartment.
The internet was relentless and so accurate. The Snark Squad pointed out that these 2 young girls looked like Gen Z AI avatars who glitched and were accidentally downloaded into a millennial purgatory.
It was so awkward.
Picture this. They're sitting rigidly on cold metal folding chairs, sipping from plastic cups, wide-eyed, just staring at a group of aging reality stars weeping over a stolen energy drink refrigerator. You can literally see the calculation in their eyes, tracing back the life choices that led them to this deeply uncool moment.
They looked like hostages waiting for an Uber that kept canceling. And just when you thought it couldn't get more uncomfortable for them, Lala bounds over, infusing the situation with her own brand of antiquated, chaotic energy.
Oh my God, Lala.
Lala, who is very proudly approaching 7 years sober, which we absolutely applaud, it is a massive achievement, decides to aggressively queerbait Kiana for screen time.
Classic Lala.
But then, in the very next breath, she completely sabotages her own bit. She tells the group that she only eats cookie when she is absolutely wasted. And she concludes that, therefore, by the laws of logic, since she got sober, she is no longer bisexual.
The physical, full-body cringe I experienced watching that scene, it is such an incredibly outdated, problematic metric for sexuality. To sit there and declare, I only experience same-sex attraction when my inhibitions are completely chemically obliterated by tequila is not an orientation, Lala. That is a party trick from 2012.
It was so embarrassing to watch her confidently state that to a Gen Z girl who undoubtedly understands the fluidity and spectrum of sexuality on a much more evolved, nuanced level.
It was so embarrassing. The whole party was a tapestry of secondhand embarrassment, which makes this the absolute perfect moment to transition to the competitive portion of our breakdown. It is time for the segments, starting with segment 1, Chaos Agent of the Week.
The task here is straightforward, but critical. We must choose the person, group, or entity who engineered the absolute most drama in this episode. I have surveyed the landscape, and I believe we have 3 elite candidates.
Candidate number 1, the messy producers, the masterminds behind the curtain. The isolation of the Danny Mike burp, the slow-motion cinematic pan to the empty White Claw can, the spliced footage of the whiskey pour. They're not merely documenting the chaos, they are conducting the symphony.
Absolutely.
Candidate number 2, Zack's roommate. A phantom menace who stole the monster fridge, the television, the wine opener, and forced a cast of reality veterans to sit on metal chairs like they were attending a bleak neighborhood watch meeting.
Incredible chaos.
And candidate number 3, Spooky Danny. The architect of his own demise, lying about the water, sneaking the alcohol, weaponizing PTSD, and fracturing the trust of the entire group.
This requires a nuanced debate about intentionality. Let's look at the roommate. The roommate's chaos was deeply, maliciously intentional. He wanted to inflict maximum domestic damage, and he succeeded. The producer's chaos is professional. It is their literal job description to expose the hypocrisy.
Right.
But Danny is a different breed. Danny's chaos is a catastrophic byproduct of his desperate, terrified need to maintain his good Christian father image while actively behaving like a deceptive monster. So I kind of want to give it to Danny.
I hear your argument for Danny, but I completely disagree. I have to award the title to the messy producers.
Really? The producers?
Yes. Think about the mechanics of reality TV. Without the producers isolating that specific audio track, without them digging into the B-roll footage from the pool party to find the exact moment he opened the fridge, Danny's lies would have just been another he said, she said argument that got swept under the rug.
Oh, that's true.
The producers are the ones who held the mirror up to the lies. They provided the irrefutable evidence. The burp heard round the valley secures their victory.
You know what? That is a flawless argument. The editors took raw, messy reality and sculpted it into undeniable proof. They deserve a Peabody Award for that audio mixing. Moving to segment 2, most delusional moment. Our task is to identify the most ridiculous, reality-defying belief, excuse, or justification presented in the episode.
Another incredibly stacked category. Candidate 1, Danny sincerely attempting to convince adult humans that Jax Taylor's gossip gave him clinical PTSD, thereby forcing him to drink in secret.
Ridiculous.
Candidate 2, Brandon looking at his freshly surgically altered girlfriend and genuinely believing that asking her for Venmo compensation to cover his missed shifts so he could come be a terrible nurse is acceptable romantic behavior. Candidate 3, Nia firmly believing that introducing a 5th child into a chaotic household where her husband resentfully parents and secretly drinks whiskey in the corner is a solid, logical life plan.
This physically pains me because Nia's delusion is rooted in tragedy and survival. Danny's delusion is a calculated, manipulative defense mechanism. But Brandon's delusion is almost aggressively, spectacularly stupid.
It truly is. Let's examine the sheer lack of processing power required to make that request. To look at a woman whose torso is bandaged and bruised, look at your own bank account and conclude, yes, now is the appropriate window to submit a travel invoice.
It's beyond delusional.
The absolute void of social awareness, empathy, and fundamental human decency required to hit send on that money request is staggering. Brandon absolutely sweeps most delusional. He is operating in a different dimension.
A dimension where you buy gas station daisies with stolen funds and think you're Prince Charming. Unbelievable. Okay, segment 3, the friendship stress test. We are going to assess the cast and determine how they would fare in our actual real-life social circle.
I love this one.
We categorize them. Who thrives and makes the inner circle? Who gets muted in the group chat? And who gets instantly, permanently blocked? Brutal honesty is non-negotiable.
I will start with who thrives. Jason is an immediate yes. He thrives. He possesses actual emotional intelligence. He holds Jasmine's hand when she's vulnerable. He doesn't play the political reality TV games. He is the anchor.
I completely agree.
I also have to put Michelle in the thrive category. I am obsessed with this new, icy, uncompromising era of Michelle. She paid her $150K exit tax, she bought her freedom, and she is dispensing hard truths to everyone. And Jasmine, confronting people directly, speaking her truth, they are in the inner circle.
I co-sign all of that. But now we enter the danger zone. Who gets muted in the group chat? These are the friends you technically love, but their emotional turbulence is too exhausting for daily consumption. Zack is immediately on Do Not Disturb.
100%.
I cannot wake up to a 12-paragraph text message lamenting the loss of a branded energy drink refrigerator. I love him, but the theatricality requires too much bandwidth. Also, Brittany is permanently muted.
Oh, absolutely muted. Muted and archived. I refuse to invest my emotional energy reading a diatribe about how neglectful your boyfriend is, only to discover 3 texts later that you paid his rent, funded his gas, and bought him a car.
You can't do it.
I cannot participate in the complaining if you are actively subsidizing the problem, Brittany. You cannot complain about the fire if you are buying the gasoline.
Perfectly stated. And finally, the irredeemables. Who gets blocked?
Danny is blocked. Blocked on iMessage, blocked on Instagram, reported to the FBI as spam. The dark energy, the ability to look someone dead in the eye and lie while holding the physical evidence, absolutely not. Get out of my life.
Agreed.
Brandon is blocked for being a parasitic grifter. And Jesse is blocked.
I agree on Jesse.
Yeah.
He takes his own massive marital failures and uses them as a shotgun to blast everyone else. He weaponizes the concept of accountability simply to bully women he feels threatened by. The trifecta of terrible men. Blocked, blocked, blocked.
Which brings us flawlessly to our final segment of the breakdown. Segment 4, the Valley Life Survival Guide. We need to tie this psychological analysis back to our own impending doom, which is moving day.
Our favorite topic.
We are assigning cast members to specific moving roles. Who would actually survive the move? Who would entirely fail to pack? Who loses everything? And who turns it into a crisis?
Let's start with who survives and leads the charge. Janet?
Oh, totally Janet.
Say whatever you want about her gossiping, but the woman is a militant project manager. She's currently running a household with a toddler while her husband is immobilized. If Janet were in charge of our move, she would arrive with color-coded, labeled boxes, a laminated spreadsheet for the movers, and she would have pre-ordered the perfect morale-boosting lunch for the crew. She is the general we need.
She would have us unpacked by sunset. Now, who would never pack? Danny, without a doubt.
Definitely Danny.
Danny would show up, wander around the apartment looking profoundly overwhelmed by the concept of cardboard, pick up one single decorative pillow, and then announce he needs to use the gym bathroom for a minute.
Oh my God, yes.
Cut to him secretly chugging a White Claw in the closet while the rest of us are trying to pivot a sofa down 3 flights of stairs. He would contribute nothing but negative energy and anxiety.
So accurate. Who would lose everything? Well, the universe already answered this for us. Zack. Zack is the poster child for material loss.
Poor Zack.
He wouldn't even attempt to pack. He would just get overwhelmed, leave the door unlocked, and let a petty roommate strip his life bare. He would arrive at the new apartment with nothing but a stemmed wine glass and a dream.
And finally, who would somehow manage to turn the logistical process of moving into a massive, debilitating personal crisis that derails the entire day? Tom Schwartz.
Oh, it's Schwartz by a mile.
You would assign Tom one simple task, like take the bottom of the kitchen boxes. 10 minutes later, you would find him sitting on the floor, holding a receipt from 2018, weeping softly about the fleeting nature of youth.
And then what?
He would then wander outside to get some air, accidentally adopt the stray dog he found by the dumpster, and return 3 hours later with 0 boxes packed, asking if we all want to sit in a circle and talk about our feelings.
He would completely hijack the emotional frequency of the room.
Guys, aren't boxes just like physical metaphors for the compartments we build in our minds to hide our trauma?
No, Tom. It is a corrugated cardboard square for my dinner plates. Just put the plates in the box, Tom.
The accuracy of that impression is actually frightening. I feel like we have successfully diagnosed the deep psychological flaws of this entire cast, and perhaps in the process, worked through a microscopic fraction of our own moving anxiety. Very microscopic. I still have to go buy more color-coded tape, and you still have to go locate a single trash bag to throw your life into. But we survived this week's mess, and that is what truly matters.
We survived and we thrived. Babes, thank you so much to the Snark Squad for hanging out with us, for enduring this absolute roller coaster of terrible decisions, and for consistently being the funniest, sharpest community on the internet.
Yes, we love you guys so much, and we need to hear your verdicts. Get in the comments, jump in the DMs, and answer these 4 questions for us.
Number 1, are frozen cosmopolitans an absolute stroke of genius or a dangerous trap?
Number 2, have you started your Pride celebrations yet? We want to see the outfits. Tell us everything.
Number 3, when it comes to moving, are you a color-coded planner or a trash bag procrastinator? Please validate my sanity or validate my chaotic bestie.
And number 4, who do you think caused the absolute most chaos in this episode?
We read every single comment, so do not hold back. And reminders, babes, please like, comment, subscribe, and share this podcast with your messiest bestie. Send it to the friend who would definitely steal a Monster Energy fridge just to be petty. And keep sending your shady, snarky, or stupid stories. They give us life.
Before we log off, we want to leave you with one final, provocative thought to mull over while you sip your slushies. Think about this. If reality TV is truly just a magnified mirror of our own society, what does it say about our collective psyche that millions of us are completely, irreversibly obsessed with watching a group of wealthy adults fight over an empty White Claw can and a neon mini fridge? What are we really looking for when we watch them fall apart?
It says we have flawless taste and a deep appreciation for the absurd, obviously.
Exactly. Stay messy, stay fabulous, and we will see you on the Snark side.